Gardeners, I hope everybody's having a fantastic day. It is late January, and just as promised, I'm going to show you my gardening plan for this year, and then we're going to go into the garden and I'm going to show you how it's already changing, but I'll kind of talk to you a little bit about why I'm not actually changing my plan. So this is an app that I've used for a couple years. It's called the Planter app, and there's a link down below that'll give you a discount code. They're supporting the podcast right now, so I figured I would kind of give you a little bit of a view about what it is, why I like it, but also what my plan for the year is, more importantly. So, I start with the year and then I go, I start with the spring and then I go into summer and fall. So I'll make multiple plans for each individual garden in this app. So let's do this. So this right here is the entire main part of my garden. This little piece over here, you can't see where I'm touching the screen, but it looks kind of jacked up and it's got flowers around it. That's the greenhouse. And then up at the top, there's all these little small boxes. That's actually part of my garden for the containers. So I just kind of put it over there just so I could see it. But you can see how I have everything laid out. And I play with this a lot because it'll tell you when things are compatible by the green dots, or if I put something that's non-compatible there will be red dots. And then if there's nothing, it doesn't matter either way, then it's going to be no dot whatsoever. So earlier this morning, I had to go back because we planted our onions the other day, and they were supposed to go in the bed diagonal to it where the bok choy, lettuce, and turnips are, and I flopped them. So I wanted the alliums to be together, and then in the beginning, that's where the potatoes were going to be, but I pushed them back so we could have more space for the potatoes instead of sharing with the garlic. They were compatible, but I just didn't see the need to have them together, and I wanted to get more potatoes. So we go through and we're changing everything. The greenhouse, the little yellow flowers are actually mustard. So there's all kinds of varieties on here, but the mustard greens that I have, that's what those are. And then you can see where we added the turnips, and there's a couple collards next to them. And then going all the way down on the other side, that is the goal, is to have that. Now that may not actually happen, but that is our goal. So you can see too where in the bed in the bottom corner is all carrots, radishes, lettuce, and bok choy with some peas on it. So we're going to do those long rows that go through. And these will all start going in any day now. So I'm going to try in the beginning of each month to do this is what I'm planting in X month. So I'll try and do that for everybody to see. But if we go back a little bit, then I'll show you what is going to be in my wild garden for the spring. And so that's the garden far away that I've been fighting for all these years. But you can see here how we have all of our potatoes, and then we have some radishes and turnips and cabbages and all that stuff. It's just all set up. Now the yellow dots, that's a new feature I'm not really sure about. When I was reading about it, these are compatible, but maybe they're just not as compatible. I'm not sure, but I'm willing to go with it because this is lettuce. So we'll be able to grow this lettuce, and then we'll just kind of cut it. So we don't cut and come again here. We're going to harvest a whole head of lettuce when it's ready. And that's why we have so much lettuce planted, because we'll we'll harvest a whole head and just work our way down the line as they get ready. And we're going to succession plant those too. So it'll fit in pretty good. And then just to give you a quick preview, since we're just looking at that, that's going to be the summer plan right there. I do need to make a couple adjustments because I have onions in there and I didn't want those in there, so they'll come out. But this has been a really good app for me to use, and moving forward into each season, I kind of go back a year and I'll look and see what was in there, and then it kind of helps me with my crop rotation as well. So you can check the link below and it'll give you a discount code, and it'll help support our podcast, and it'll help support this channel. They have not sponsored this video, but I like it so much, and I've been using it, I think, really early on. It didn't have anywhere near the features that it has now, but I love it. And each square is a square foot, so remember that too. So it's really easy for square foot gardening. But that being said, let's go look in the garden And then we're gonna see what's actually gonna change from my plan, because that's all part of it, is being able to go with the flow and make the changes when they need to happen. If you remember correctly, one of my goals from this year, and it's released on the Backyard Gardens podcast if you wanna hear it, is I wanna start making my rows go lengthwise, which should be reflected in the plan I just showed you. So I didn't do that in the fall. So there's gonna be a little bit of a transitional period for this, but I'm okay with that. But it's just part of it. And I don't really want to tear something up, just be like, well, I don't like the way it looks, I want to get rid of it before I actually get my harvest for the year out of it. So for instance, in this bed behind me right here, you know, there were supposed to be carrots going all the way down on this side, and we'll be able to continue that right here. But then in the middle, we're going to leave these carrots until they're done. We don't want to just totally like scrap it. So we're going to kind of make those adjustments as necessary. You know, this broccoli, which, check this broccoli out. I have not had this yet, and I imagine it's from stress. All of you side shoot fans will be happy that we have side shoots and the main stalk forming. So, yeah, what can I say? But this plant will come up soon, and then that'll leave us for room all through here to be able to make those plantings and adjustments as needed. But you can see, like in the middle, it's just not going to be what we had planned on. This is the onion bed, and it's going to be just as you saw in the thing in the app, so that's going to work out really good. We're going to just let that grow, and we'll come back to it because we also have a summer plan for all of these beds too. So this one may or may not fall into the plan completely. We still have a couple radishes in the middle here that we are waiting to finish up, and I have not been out here much looking, but yeah, we've got some overcrowding issues because we had a raccoon come and stir up the garden and mix all the seeds up. So we may actually just have to pull this all out. And we've got one radish or one turnip over here we're waiting to be done. So this one can completely be, in theory, this is going to be going by the plan as well. And this one over here is not, because we have a couple kohlrabi here that are really starting to take off. And I just don't want to, you know, waste that effort that we put into it. So everything from here up will be planted. Now we will be putting in our carrots and stuff like that. No, our turnips back here soon. And then we're going to put kale up here. So for the most part, this one will work. And this bed here, it's not going to be as good because, I mean, I'm not going to waste my Brussels sprouts that I've been growing. So hopefully they'll come out and we can get them in, but we'll, you know, right here on this row right here, we'll squeeze our lettuces in everywhere we can. And then we'll put our cabbages everywhere we can here as well, just to kind of make, you know, fill the gaps and go through with it. And so that's the big part about all of this, is sometimes you got to make a plan, but sometimes you got to be able to deviate from it and just know that, like, hey, this is going to be my gardening plan for this year, but I'm going to make this change so that I'm not wasteful and I get as much as I can out of it. And that's really going to help us with this year. And then moving forward, we're going to be fine. We'll make our plan and we'll be able to stick to it as much as possible. But this time of year, things they'll get stunted or they'll get knocked back, and you know, you're waiting on broccolis and stuff like that. It just never really works out totally like you want. So we'll adjust as needed. Wild garden is looking a little rough these days. The weather has definitely got to it. So we'll be able to keep our carrots in here. And then we were going to put the onions right here, but we've got to change all of that. So I can't remember what I put in there. I think it's actually going to be another row of turnips. But you know, you can still see, like, we're not going to pull out these collards until we have to pull them out. You know, we're not going to just pull up these carrots until they're done. We're going to let them grow as long as possible. And the same goes for over here. So this one's supposed to be all potatoes, and I'm actually going to be giving this garden bed to my son this year. So the cabbage is running behind, and I really don't want to rip the cabbage up, but my goal is to get him started gardening. So we're going to do everything we can. These broccolis, they're actually just about to bolt. There've been some stress, so these are going to have to come up today. So that's going to clear some room. And then back here, the cabbage is starting to head up pretty good. So we're not, this variety here does not get very big. So we're not expecting huge. I mean, usually we get probably heads like that, and they'll come on within the next month generally. So this whole bed right here is going to be basically free game. We're going to leave these cabbages in as long as possible to kind of get them the point, but there's going to be turnips that go back here. So if I can't put a full row of turnips in, I'm okay sacrificing that for a little bit of cabbage. Bed here, it's wide open. So we'll do as much as we can, but same with the cabbages. Again, we want to leave them, but we've got some, you can see that one right there got stunted. So we're not even going to leave that in the ground. We've got plenty of cabbages that we're going to start and we're going to put in there and then just kind of fill this bed up. So we've got to do a little bit of amending on this one, but for the most part, it's going to be good. Big wild card every year, every single year is the greenhouse. So this is my third year with the greenhouse and I haven't totally mastered the situation with it. And things grow totally differently in there. So a lot of things will be dormant right now, but in the greenhouse, they're not dormant. So we've been able to stabilize temperatures a little bit and keep them elevated more at night this year. We're averaging about 4 or 5 degrees above outside, which is a big difference in my area. So it's kind of hit or miss on what's going to happen. But if we take a look, and this is one I've been thinking about a lot lately. So, you know, we've got our collards here and they're doing great. I'm not going to pull those up. We are adding in the turnips in the back. The carrot patch is still there. The mustard, we adjusted the plan to leave that there. And so all of this here is kind of last minute Susie stuff. So we've got the turnips right here. Now we're going to leave those in as long as possible. And hopefully we can get a harvest off of them before it gets too hot. But like the kale, for instance, I mean, this kale is doing so well that it's going to be ready to be start getting harvest off of in a week or two. So we've got the sun coming in. It's getting a lot warmer in here right now. So all of this stuff right here is all subject to change. And then same over here. I actually intentionally left this spot blank because the turnips, or the rutabagas in there, they're getting pretty big and they're starting to swell. So we want to leave those in as long as possible. I mean, I'm just standing in here right now and it's like 45 degrees outside. And in here, it's no joke, 70 degrees. It's like sweating. I need to open the door so we don't get any kind of mildew issues or mold or anything. But, you know, when you make these plans, don't be afraid to change them a little bit. I mean, I garden so I can eat. That's what I do. And when you have plants that are growing and they're like getting really close to harvest, I've got to be able to make the decision of like, hey, this is going to be ready. And then I'm going to have time to replant, or I'm not going to have time to replant before my next crop comes in, because I don't really want to sacrifice my summer crops, but two, I can't really grow some of this stuff past like almost April until it really starts to bolt. So, you know, and then when April comes, it's going to be a quick transition over, real quick. So we got to be able to stay on top of it and just be kind of flexible. You know what I mean? So we'll see, and I'll definitely keep you guys updated as we make changes and planting and stuff like that, and, you know, I'll explain to you why I've made these changes. But I mean, for instance, look in this container here. This container was only supposed to be cabbage. It's getting a nice head on it. And then I just dropped some lettuce seeds in here and they're growing through the winter. So as we get warmer, they'll kind of recover a little bit. So, you know, that's just kind of the adjustment that we made, and we're going to get more food out of that spot. Same with this one over here. You know, same idea. Like now that it's got this spread on it, it's going to get a lot more energy to be able to build that head, and I'm not going to mess that up. What's the point in putting in a fresh cabbage seedling when you've already got a cabbage seedling in there? You know, it doesn't make sense. So it's not stunted and it's still growing, and these warmer days, they're going to come upon us, and we should start getting some spring rain, please, Lord. So once we start doing that, then we'll start to have it covered more, and then we'll be able to kind of see things progress and then make those final decisions. So we'll see what happens. You never know what's going to happen when you plant in late winter in Zone 8A in North Carolina.
Goodbye.